If you're watching this, you probably make redstone, and you probably know that by far the most annoying part of any big redstone build is the debugging. However, in this video I'm going to explain 3 ways to make the debugging way easier and way less annoying. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so the first way is a debugging technique that I use that makes the whole process so much easier. It sounds simple, but it helps so much. Put simply, it's just to narrow down the problem by taking each component individually and looking at the input and output. But not just that, you need to check each component in the order that the signal would pass through them. For example, if I had a circuit that would take a binary number input from you, invert all the digits, then add 17, you would make sure that your input is going into the input of the inverter, then look at the output of the inverter to see if it's correct. Then you make sure that was the same as the input to the adder, and then you would check that the output of the adder is the input plus 17. And let's say then you locate the problem to the adder. Fixing one component doesn't seem nearly as daunting a task as fixing the whole circuit. Another really useful tool is the /tick freeze and /tick step commands, which if you have sequential devices that have tight timings can be really useful to work out what needs to happen when. Okay, now I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of how I would go about debugging this machine over here. This is Microsoft Word in Minecraft, which I've made a video about, links in the description. And what I'm basically going to do is just follow the signal all the way from the keyboard to wherever it comes on the screen and figure out where it gets distorted or something wrong happens to it. So I'll start by doing the /tick freeze command, and then I'll copy /tick step to my clipboard so that I can paste it whenever I want quickly. So I'll just choose a random key, I guess I'll pick a T, and then what I'll do is I'll check here and I'll /tick step a couple times and check that the rows that should turn on do turn on. Okay, so they do turn on, so that means the problem is nothing to do with the keyboard and that's ruled out. Then I'll check that the input to the next part is the same as the output of the keyboard, and yep, you can see here that it's the same as what was outputted there, so that's all correct. Then I'll check that the output of this ROM unit is correct, and yeah, I can see that it's coming out correctly. You don't need to understand what it's outputting. If you want to understand, you can click on the video in the description. And now I need to check that this signal travels all the way across this glass tower all nicely and safe, and yep, I can see that it does. Then I can check that these comparators are uncancelled like they should be, and these comparators are uncancelled like they should be, and now here I can see that what was on that glass tower is also there, so that's fine. And then I'll check that this part works fine, which you don't need to understand, but I guess you will understand it if you click on the video in the description. And yeah, it all works fine, but say something hadn't worked fine, then that also would have been fine because I could have singled out that component and fixed it instead of worrying about the whole machine as a whole. That's what makes this technique really good, is that it turns a really large problem into a quite small problem. Then I can check that it gets displayed on the screen like it should do, and yeah, it does, so everything's working fine. Now the second way you can make debugging easier is going to sound counterintuitive, but bear with me. You can always quit the project, because redstone is meant to be fun, and if you're not enjoying it anymore and it's become like a chore, then it's completely fine to just quit the project. There's nothing stopping you from picking up it again later in life when you become smarter. And then the third way is really simple but really effective. Take breaks. If you get to that point where your brain just aches, then take a break, sleep on it, and try again when you feel refreshed. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Check out my other content and like and subscribe. Bye.